Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this next episode of my flying blog. Um, I had a couple of lessons in one day last week, which is the first time I've ever done that, so I really enjoyed it. A proper full on afternoon of flying. In the two lessons, the first one was slow flight, and the second one was stalling. So I learned quite a few bits and bobs which I thought I'd share with you. The first thing I learned was hassle checks or hazel checks. I don't know how you pronounce it, but there are a set of checks that you do once you're in stable flight and ready to perform a maneuver such as a stall or a spin. I'll just talk you through what each of the letters in the acronym means. So the first one is height. I hadn't actually realised, but there's a rule that if you're on your own in the aircraft, you have to be at 3,500 feet or above in order to perform this kind of manoeuvre. And that height is actually a bit lower when you are flying with an instructor. So in this case, it's 2,500 feet, so 1,000 feet lower. So the first thing you do is check whether you're at an appropriate height to perform the manoeuvre. You then check the condition of the airframe. So A is for airframe. So you're thinking about the configuration, whether you've got flat down, if you've got retractable undercarriage, which state it's in, and just to make sure that you're in the right configuration and you're aware of kind of stall speeds, etc. S stands for security. So this is just to make sure that you're safely in your seat, you've got your seatbelt fastened, the door is closed and latched, and there's nothing loose around the cabin that's going to fly around and injure someone. E is for engine, so this is the kind of standard temperatures, pressures check. You check the suction gauge to make sure you've still got suction, and you check the alternator to make sure you are still charging the battery. Next one is lookout. So rather than just looking ahead, you can do either a 180-degree turn and look around, or you can do two 90-degree turns, and this is what we did in our lesson. So you do 90-degree turn to the left, good look out to see what's around you, and 90 degrees to the right, again just to look out and see if there's anything that would stop you performing the manoeuvre. And then the last one is location. And again, you can split this into another few letters, so A, B, C, C, D. So first one, A, is for aerodrome, so you're looking around just to make sure that you're not in someone's airspace or causing a danger to any taking off or landing aircraft at an aerodrome. B is for built-up areas, so you are looking around to see if something goes wrong, have you got enough space to glide to do a forced landing. C is for cloud, so you want to be well clear of cloud to make sure that it's not going to impede you whilst you're doing the manoeuvre. And then the other C is for controlled airspace, so you should be either outside of controlled airspace or have permission to do the manoeuvre from the air traffic control unit that you're covered by. And then D is for danger areas, so obviously you want to make sure that you're still well clear of any danger areas and not going to inadvertently fly into one whilst performing the manoeuvre. So you do that check first, and then what we were doing is basically reducing the power to 1500 RPM, so carb heat on to keep the engine warm, reduce the power, and then slowly increasing the back pressure on the control column to maintain level flight. And of course, as you're doing that, you can watch the airspeed roll back on the ASI. And basically, as you approach the stall speed, so I think it's about 60 knots with no flap, you start to notice a few symptoms. So obviously, by pulling back the nose with continued back pressure, the nose is rising to quite an unusual attitude. So it's a very nose high attitude. Because you're slowing down, the airflow over the fuselage is a lot lower, so the noise from that is lower. You can see the airspeed is dropping on the ASI, so obviously that's another symptom. You can feel that the aircraft becomes a little bit more twitchy in the yaw plane of motion, and obviously eventually the stall warning comes on. So what the lesson tried to show is a few things around how much height you lose depending on the action that you take to recover the aircraft. So if, for example, you don't apply power and only push the nose down, you can lose anywhere up to about 400 feet before the airspeed is built up back enough for you to take on level flight again and apply power. If you apply power and pitch the nose to level flight, you lose about 200 feet. But actually what you're also able to do is what they call the incipient phase of the stall. So when you're starting to notice the symptom, but the wings haven't actually stalled yet, if you catch it there, set pitch for level flights and apply full power, you can actually recover the aircraft without losing any height at all, or maybe up to about 20 feet, but really nothing noteworthy. And I think that's basically the point of the lesson, is to be able to recognise that you're entering a stall and take action early enough so that you don't put yourself at any risk of losing height. One of the things I found quite weird actually in the lesson was you're not supposed to use the ailerons at all, because obviously if the wing starts to stall and you put some bank in, there's a danger that you're going to start spinning the aircraft. So you actually have to use the rudder to try and keep the wings level as the aircraft slows. And obviously the aircraft's becoming quite unstable because there's not enough airflow going over the wings to maintain lift. So if the left wing drops, for example, you gently put in some slight right rudder to keep the wings level, and then basically you're holding the aircraft level so it stalls in a very kind of wings level bank angle just to stop stalls. So I actually found that quite difficult to do, because obviously your natural reaction is when the wing drops is to use the ailerons to keep it nice and level. So definitely something I want to maybe try again in the next lesson, just to make sure that I've got that clear in my head. So next lesson is stalls part 2, where we will revisit what we've done already, and then we'll be doing stalls but in different aircraft configurations. And basically what we've done with all of the lessons I've done so far, and what I'm studying now, is getting ready for circuit flying, so that I can recognise and respond to all of these kind of symptoms or ways of working with the aircraft, so that when I'm in the circuit and I encounter some of these things, I know exactly what to do. Because obviously in the circuit, if you've only got 1,000 feet to play with in terms of height, you need to be responding to these things pretty quickly. So I've got my next lesson booked in for next week. So really looking forward to that. It's on Saturday. It's an early one, 8:45 I think the flight is, so I have to get up nice and early. So it should be good, and obviously I'll take some pictures and share them with you. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this lesson. I guess just the last thing I wanted to say was a number of you may be aware that there was an incident at the flying school just over a week ago now, where a light aircraft and helicopter collided in midair just over Waddesdon. Unfortunately, both of the aircraft were from Wickham Air Park, and the light aircraft was flown by an instructor from my flight school and one of the students. Tragically, they all lost their lives in the accident, so I just wanted to say how sorry I am at the news. It's a tragic accident, and my heart goes out to everyone involved, and all of the families, friends and members of the flying club who I know will be feeling the pain at this time. So with all of that said, obviously I've put my Twitter page and Instagram feed up at the bottom of the screen. If you wanted to send any messages about anything that you'd like me to cover in future episodes, then please just drop me a message. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.